All right, let's talk about something that should be super simple, but for some reason gives almost all of us a ton of anxiety: calling in sick from work. It's gotten complicated, so let's get into it.
I mean, it should be a no-brainer, right? You feel awful, you take the day off to get better. End of story. But how many of us have actually felt that pit in our stomach, that little voice of guilt or even fear when we have to make that call or send that message? Why is this one simple act so universally stressful?
So we're going to frame this whole thing as a bit of a debate. We're going to explore all the different pressures that feed into this sick day anxiety, from the way different generations think about work to the crazy, hyper-connected world we all live in now.
Okay, let's kick things off with our first position in this debate. This is the mindset that really set the foundation for modern work culture, the one established by baby boomers and a lot of older Gen Xers. Let's call it the always show up rule.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. Showing up was sacred. This quote really gets to the heart of a powerful mindset. For this generation, professionalism was literally defined by being physically present. Working while you were sick wasn't just normal, it was almost a badge of honor. It showed you were committed.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just about getting tasks done. Oh no, it went way deeper. Your willingness to show up, your grit, your loyalty, all of that was seen as a direct reflection of your character. So calling in sick, it could feel like you were failing on a personal level, like you were letting the whole team down.
But here's how we see it now. The modern view kind of pushes back on that and says, hang on a second. While that approach definitely builds toughness, today we see that it confuses being exhausted with being excellent. The very definition of strength is changing. It's not just about pushing through anymore, it's also about having the self-awareness to know when you need to stop and recharge.
So that old school rule starts to evolve. And for millennials, that pressure kind of morphed into something new, something we can call the performance trap.
And this is where you see this really fascinating and kind of stressful conflict. You've got a generation raised on hustle culture, where being productive isn't just something you do, it's a part of your identity. It leads to this weird paradox where you're talking about self-care, but also feeling guilty if you're not checking your email.
So you see, the anxiety here is a little different. It's less about letting the team down, and it's way more about the fear of letting yourself down. In this super competitive world, where you're told that constant motion equals success, taking even one day off can feel like a huge risk, like you're going to fall behind and never catch up.
The modern perspective challenges this idea head-on. It basically says that being a true professional, a real leader, isn't about being seen constantly. It's about being valuable when you are seen. Your credibility isn't built on being busy all the time. It's built on doing excellent work consistently. It's all about quality, not just quantity.
Which brings us to our third and final viewpoint in this whole debate, Gen Z. And for them, the pressure comes from something new, what people are calling visibility anxiety, and it's a direct result of our always-on digital world.
Now, this is a really subtle but super important shift in why there's anxiety. Gen Z is often great at talking about boundaries and mental health, so their fear isn't so much about being judged as weak or lazy for taking a day off. No, it's a fear of just becoming invisible.
I mean, think about it. We work in a world that never really shuts off. Your presence is constantly being tracked online, that little green dot on Slack or Teams. It screams, "I'm here, I'm working." So when that dot goes gray, you basically vanish from the digital office. The anxiety is a real fear of being left out or forgotten just because you're not constantly online.
And the modern view completely reframes this. In today's work etiquette, being able to proactively and professionally state your boundaries, well, that's not a weakness, it's actually a high-level skill. Being able to say, "Hey, I'm unavailable today to rest," is a sign of emotional intelligence. It shows you respect yourself. Okay, so we've got these three really different perspectives, right? Each one with its own flavor of anxiety. But what if they aren't so different after all? What if they're all just different symptoms of the exact same core fear?
Because when you strip everything else away, that's what's really going on here. It doesn't matter if you're worried about being seen as disloyal, or afraid of falling behind, or scared of just disappearing. It all boils down to the exact same thing: the fear of losing your professional credibility. That is the one thread that connects everyone.
And this is the big idea that could change everything. We need to completely redefine what it means to be a professional. It's not about dragging your sick self to work, in person or online. It's about having the good judgment to rest so that when you do show up, you can actually be focused, creative, and effective.
So, if we all agree that's the problem, what's the solution?
how do we actually build a work culture where showing up well is the thing we all aim for? What's the path forward?
Well, no huge surprise here. It really has to start from the top. It's all about leadership. First, leaders have to actually model the behavior. When you take a real sick day, and I mean no emails, no calls, you send a powerful message that it's okay. And second, you have to give your team explicit permission. Tell them, please take the time you need. But it's not just on them. For the rest of us, it means communicating clearly when you're out and then actually disconnecting. You have to respect your own boundaries before anyone else will.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about for our own jobs. Has our culture really evolved? Is taking time to rest actually seen as a respected part of being good at your job? Or are we still, quietly punishing people for taking care of themselves? It's a really important question as we all try to figure out the future of work. Thanks for watching.